Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Don't Risk It podcast presented by VFIS Client Risk Solutions. This program focuses on the exposures our clients frequently encounter and discusses some potential solutions to help reduce these exposures. I'm your host, Chris Rogers with VFIS Client Risk Solutions, and today we're discussing recruitment and retention of personnel in emergency services. I want to welcome Tracie Young-Brungard to the program. Tracie is the administrator of the Recruitment and Retention Program for the Pennsylvania Office of the State Fire Commissioner. Tracie is joining us today to offer some suggestions on recruiting and retaining members in your organization and providing some supportive legislative materials. Tracie, I want to thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Well, good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So to get the questioning started, is this a new position within the state system, or was this an existing position?
So this is a new position and one that was created out of the Senate Resolution 6 report recommending that the State Office of the Fire Commissioner have an individual who could administer a recruitment and retention program.
So how did your position get started? Was it kick-started by some legislation or by someone recognizing that a need needed to be filled?
So the Senate resolution was a document that was recommendations presented to the General Assembly to act on helping to maintain the viability of the volunteer fire and emergency services. And there are different groups out there, as well as individual fire departments, who are working on initiatives. But from the higher level, from a state position, there was nobody until the position was created, and it was filled in November of 21.
So why did the legislature feel the need to develop SR6?
So SR6 was around previously and was brought to the forefront again with the decreasing number of firefighters in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There definitely is a need to promote, to recruit and retain those volunteers that are a vital part of our public safety.
So what was the basis of SR6? Was it strictly recruitment and retention, or was there some other need that generated that?
So there were multiple recommendations under SR6. In fact, there were 27 recommendations total. 21 were specific to fire and or combination of fire and first responders or emergency responders. There are several initiatives that the office has been working on of those recommendations. One was the Volunteer Tax Credit Incentive Program for First Responders, which was fully implemented in November of 2022. And it's a tool that can be used to help and retain individuals. Basically, this is one of the financial incentives that municipalities, school districts, or counties can use to retain and recruit individuals.
So I think you kind of just hit on some of these things that the committee has developed, but are there any other areas that the committee, the Recruitment and Retention Committee, have developed?
So they have been working on focusing on Recommendation 18, which was defining classifications and training levels for fire service providers. Some of those initiatives are the Junior Firefighter Program, looking to standardize the program across the Commonwealth, as well as they have created a Junior Firefighter Pathway document. This document is referred to as a quick reference guide for fire departments and fire officers. It does not replace the Junior Firefighter Compliance Manual. What it did was extract out the critical components from that manual and put it into a format that was easier to reference, so they could look at things like training by age group, documentation requirements for junior firefighters that the fire departments are required under the child labor law to comply with, and professional certifications that they can test for and the hours they can work.
Brian DeQuinn's joining us today, and he's sitting in, and I think he wants to chime in. So, Brian?
Tracie, so one of the nice things is, and you can kind of elaborate on this a little bit, so with the recruitment retention program that was developed, not a whole lot of resources that were kind of put into it as far as a staffing standpoint yet. Obviously, there's still some room to grow there, but you're working with many different people from the focus groups that you've created who have such a wide background of experience. Can you kind of talk to that a little bit, and who's really come to the table to help with these things?
Sure, Brian. So the mission of the program was to be able to develop and implement and sustain a Commonwealth-wide program, and we know that can't be done with just one person or one organization. So looking at through a multi-agency collaboration with leadership, education and training, research, The program is designed to assist Commonwealth fire departments and organizations in various structures. So whether they're located in rural Pennsylvania, urban, suburban, and metro, and the different types of fire departments such as volunteer and career, and then we have the combination of fire and EMS. They all need resources. So with the lack of staff at this point, what we've done is create a statewide focus group. And again, as you said, there's a diverse group of individuals that have come to the table with backgrounds as volunteer and career firefighters, as well as other areas that they bring their subject to the table. So we have representatives in higher education, communication, we have researchers, physicians and healthcare providers, we have business and industry representation, and we do have some municipal leaders on that group.
So with all those individuals involved coming together, I'm sure there's some projects that you are working on for the future. So can you talk about some of the future projects for the Recruitment and Retention Committee?
So some of the other things we're looking at is there a potential to do an alternative certification for junior firefighters and exterior firefighters? And that kind of goes along with every area has its own different needs and unique. So again, from a program perspective, we know that no one program fits every organization, so we have to have that a la carte type program. It has to be created and to be able to provide those different resources and the conduits for the many different resources based on that organization's needs. Some of the other things that we're working on and focusing on this year are health and wellness and mental health.
Tracie, I think it's interesting. We've talked a few of the talking points here today are recruitment and retention of junior firefighters. And you don't hear many organizations that really take that as an initiative or a drive. One of the nice parts in the Client Risk Solutions department, we actually get to go out and meet with clients all the time. I was actually at an account not too terribly long here in the Commonwealth where their initiative is to drive for junior firefighters, and it's reverse recruitment. So they got all these kids in, and now all of their parents are subsequently joining the fire department as well. And it's such a unique way to think about it, but I think that's why some of this junior firefighter stuff is so important, because if we can capture them, there's a high probability that we may capture one or both of their parents or relatives associated with them as an additional resource.
That's correct. And I do know of one gentleman who stepped forth that said his son, who was 14, was kind of hesitant to join, really wanted to. So he made a pact with his son that he would join with him. So they've both joined the volunteer fire company.
Almost restarting that lineage of father-son firefighters. It seems to have kind of went away away from the volunteer service. So if someone from PA is listening, when I say PA, I mean Pennsylvania. If someone from Pennsylvania is listening, where can they go for additional information?
So the Office of State Fire Commissioner website has a web page dedicated to recruitment and retention. So if they would go to www.osfc.pa.gov, that will take them into the web page. And we have all different types of resources in there that they can use.
And we'll make sure to include that webpage or that link in the description of the program. But what about listeners outside of Pennsylvania? We're a national company. So are there other states that have developed similar legislative actions similar to SR6 that you're aware of?
So personally, I've seen reports come out of recently from New York and Ohio, some of our neighboring states, but I do know that other states have been doing some form of initiative, whether based on a report that's come from, a collaborative effort at the state level or a state firefighters association, whether it's been regional, but it just appears that everybody has been doing something for those initiatives in the states.
So it's a new initiative kind of across the country, it sounds like. So it'd be a good idea for our listeners to look locally at their at their local legislation to see if something might be in the works there.
Yes, I absolutely would encourage them to check with their state and their locals, and also to reach out and use the information that's being provided by other states, such as Pennsylvania.
Well, so if we have, an organization that might want to kickstart this in their state, if someone is in a state that doesn't have these legislative programs, is there somewhere they can go to view the Pennsylvania documents that could possibly, assist their state with developing such legislation?
There's a couple places they can go. Again, our website on the recruitment and retention landing page, there is a tile specifically for legislation, but there's tiles for other information. But they also can go to the Pennsylvania Fire and Emergency Service Institute. It has the legislative documents on there. And if they just go to the PA law and legislation and type in the SR6 or Act 91 of 2020, they can get some of that information.
So Pennsylvania SR6 would probably be a good starting point to put into the Google to get them going.
Yes, I would agree. That's a good starting point. It has a lot of good recommendations and feedback in there.
All right, perfect. Well, Tracie, I really appreciate you joining us today. It was a pleasure having you in, and it was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank you for listening to the program and for your interest in VFIS safety resources. I want to thank our guest, Tracie Young-Brungard, once again for her time and information. Please consider subscribing to our program to stay up to date on new content releases. Also, if you like what you've heard, please consider leaving a review below. For more information about the many resources available from VFIS, please visit VFIS.com. And to submit ideas for future discussions, please reach out by emailing VFISriskcontrol@VFIS.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day. The views, information, or opinions expressed during this program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Gladfelter Insurance Group, VFIS, and its employees.